In the 1830s, Japan was a nation frozen in time, ruled by the Tokugawa shogunate under a rigid social order. Society was divided into four classes: samurai, farmers, artisans, and merchants. You were born into your class, and you died in it. But in a small village, one farmer's son, Miyagawa Katsuger, dared to dream of the impossible. He dreamed of becoming a samurai. This was more than a fantasy. The young farmer was a prodigy with the sword. He was adopted by the master of a small dojo, taking the name Kondo Isami. There, he gathered a band of loyal, brilliant, and violent young men: the ruthless strategist, Hijikata Toshi's, the boy genius, Okita SG. They were misfits, all burning with the same ambition: to prove their worth in a world that looked down on them. Then, in 1853, the world changed. American warships, the Black Ships, arrived, forcing Japan to open its borders. The shogun's authority crumbled, the country exploded into chaos. Radical samurai roamed the streets, calling for the overthrow of the government. For the shogunate, it was a crisis, but for Kondo Isami, it was the chance of a lifetime. The government formed the Shinsengumi, a militia of ronin, to serve as a police force in the violent capital of Kyoto. Kondo and his brothers signed up immediately. This was their shot to become true samurai, serving the shogun in the nation's hour of need. When the main militia disbanded, Kondo's group refused to leave. They formed their own unit, the Shinsengumi, the new selected group. Under the command of the Lord of Azu, they became the shogun's unofficial, and most brutal, police force. They called themselves the Wolves of Mibu. Kondo was now a captain, but he was not yet a hero. That would change on a hot summer night, in a small inn called the Ikedaya. By the summer of 1864, Kyoto was a powder keg. Radical samurai were plotting a massive terrorist attack. Their plan: to set fire to the city, assassinate key officials, and capture the emperor. The Shinsengumi got wind of the plot. After a brutal interrogation, they learned the location of the meeting, the Ikedaya Inn. Time was running out. Kondo Isami made a fateful decision. He would take a small, elite squad and strike the inn directly. With only a handful of men, Kondo stormed the inn. Inside, over 20 elite samurai were caught by surprise. Kondo's voice boomed: "This is a shogunate inspection. All who resist will be cut down." What followed was one of the most famous sword fights in Japanese history. In the cramped, dark inn, Kondo and his men fought for their lives against overwhelming odds. It was a chaotic, bloody melee. This was the moment Kondo had dreamed of. He was no longer a farmer playing at being a warrior. He was a samurai captain, leading his men in a desperate battle to save the capital and defend the shogun. Just as they were about to be overrun, his second-in-command, Hijikata, arrived with reinforcements. The Shinsengumi had won an overwhelming victory. They had prevented a catastrophic attack and saved the city. The Ikedaya Incident made Kondo Isami a national hero. The farmer's son was finally recognized by the shogun as a true samurai. He had achieved his lifelong dream, but in the turning tide of history, he had just made an enemy of the men who would soon rule Japan. After the Ikedaya Incident, Kondo Isami was a living legend. The Shinsengumi were at the zenith of their power. Kondo had finally achieved everything he had ever wanted. He was a full-fledged samurai. The farmer's dream had come true. But the world was changing faster than he could comprehend. The very shogunate he had sworn to protect was crumbling. The forces of the outer domains, armed with modern Western rifles and cannons, were gathering strength. The age of the sword was ending. The age of the gun had begun. In 1868, the dam broke. The Boshin War erupted between the new imperial government and the old shogunate. Kondo and the Shinsengumi fought bravely, but it was a slaughter. Their swords were no match for the enemy's modern firearms. The shogunate's armies were shattered. Kondo was forced to retreat, his dream turning into a nightmare. He was no longer a hero, but the leader of a defeated army, hunted by the new government. The men he had humiliated at the Ikedaya Inn were now the leaders of the nation, and they had long memories. He tried to rally his remaining forces, but it was hopeless. He was surrounded. Believing he would be treated as a prisoner of war, Kondo Isami surrendered, but his identity was soon discovered. For the new government, he was not a samurai to be respected, but a criminal to be punished. He asked to be allowed to die an honorable death by committing seppuku. His request was denied. On April 25, 1868, Kondo Isami was taken to the Itabashi execution ground. He was to be made an example of. At the age of 35, the man who dreamed of being a samurai was executed as a criminal. His head was put on a pike and displayed in public in Kyoto. It was the ultimate disgrace. The rest of the Shinsengumi were hunted down. The samurai class itself was abolished just a few years later. The world that Kondo had fought and died for vanished completely. It seemed his life had been a complete and tragic failure. But then, a strange thing happened. The man who died in disgrace was reborn as a hero. As Japan modernized, its people grew nostalgic for the spirit of the samurai they had lost. They found it in the story of the Shinsengumi. The wolves of Mibu, once feared as killers, were now celebrated in novels, plays, and films as symbols of loyalty and tragic heroism. The tragedy of Kondo Isami is one of history's cruelest ironies. He was a farmer who desperately wanted to be a samurai, in an age when the samurai were about to become obsolete. He was a man obsessed with an idealized past, blind to the inevitable future. He achieved his dream, only to have that dream destroy him. Kondo Isami's life is a testament to the power of a dream, and the danger of holding on to it for too long. He died a criminal, but he has been immortalized as a hero, a symbol of a lost ideal. He is Japan's last true samurai, not because of how he lived, but because of how perfectly, and how tragically, he failed.